We're here this afternoon with Justin McLeod from Spring Lake, North Carolina, and Justin is hosting a class this weekend to help emergency personnel know what to do in the case of a crisis that involves a large animal rescue. So Justin, tell our viewers a little bit about your program and what you guys do.
Yes, ma'am. Basically, NC SMART, which is the North Carolina Specialized Mobile Animal Rescue Team, has teamed up with TLAER Incorporated, which is Technical Large Animal Emergency Rescue. We are hosting a class at the Cotton Fire Department in Hope Mills, and basically we're trying to get the word out to emergency responders, firefighters, vets, anybody, even basic horse owners, barn owners, and teach them how to properly save their horse, the preparedness, be prepared for barn fires, overturn horse trailers, and so forth.
Right. And how often do you have these kind of classes?
We are trying to implement this class in North Carolina in this area on a 2-year rotation.
Okay.
Whether it be an awareness 1 year followed by operations, or if we do awareness and operations, we try to do it at least every 2 years.
Okay. And if a horse owner has an emergency, who would they call? Could they call you guys for advice or?
Absolutely. My suggestion would first be call 911. Get the fire department en route just because of manpower and tools and equipment. Second of all, I would call a veterinarian and have them en route, at least on standby. If they do not have one that would be willing to respond, when they call us, they can. We have a list of vets in North Carolina that we can call and we work with.
Okay, that sounds great. Sounds like you've got it all covered then.
Well, we try to.
Very good. And you work with the fire department here?
Yes, ma'am. I work full time at Cotton Fire Department.
Okay.
I've been a career fireman 19 years.
All right. And Tori, your partner?
Yes, my wife, she is a supervisor in the 911 center.
Right.
And she's been doing the NC SMART for roughly 10 years.
Very good. And is NC SMART based down here in Spring Lake?
Yes, ma'am. We are based out of Spring Lake.
Okay. Good. And how could people reach you if they wanted to get in contact with you?
2 numbers. My personal cell number is 919-201-6789.
Okay.
Tori's is 910-494-8210. And you can also go to our website, which is the number 4, Hooves, Hooves, SMART, SMART.com.
With us now is Dr. Rebecca Jimenez, and Dr. Jimenez is the foremost leading authority on large animal rescue in the world. So we're very lucky to have her in our state this weekend working on this class. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you do through TLAER?
Sure. Technical Large Animal Emergency Rescue was actually conceived by Dr. Tomas Jimenez, who is my ex-husband, and believe it or not, we actually ended up working together even after we got divorced because we're so passionate about large animal rescue and assisting animals. Now, this is not skinny horse rescue. This is technical rescue. This is how to get a horse out of a mud hole, how to get a horse out of a trailer wreck without you getting hurt, without the horse getting hurt, because how many times have you heard of horses having a trailer wreck?
Right.
I mean, they can have a wreck in the trailer with it standing still.
This is true.
If you talk to veterinarians, they will tell you that the statistics I was up in Illinois just a couple of weeks ago. The statistic that they gave me when I asked them how many of the horses that you see that come in with lacerations, head, all kinds of problems with their head cut up and those kind of things, they said probably 50% of those are inside trailers. People loading and unloading from trailers. So if I have one thing to tell people out there right now, teach your horse to load in a trailer correctly, where he's safe, where he feels comfortable with it, and of course we're always saying that.
Absolutely.
But that really fundamentally is something that we need to emphasize to horse owners.
Sure.
Because those 4-H'ers, those pony clubbers, those are the kids that should be learning these kind of things at their age. How many times have you ever been to a pony club event or a 4-H event and they're teaching the kids how to wrap the legs? That's important, but you don't have to spend all your time doing it.
Right.
You can teach them how to use a fire extinguisher. When was the last time you went to a pony club event and they taught somebody how to use a fire extinguisher? Do you know how to use a fire extinguisher? It's important. If you had a barn fire and you were standing right there and somebody flicked the cigarette butt down and it started a fire, do you know how to put it out?
Right.
What a lot of people don't realize is that fire extinguisher, that 10-pound fire extinguisher, has about 9 seconds worth of stuff in it. 9 seconds for you to get it right.
Wow.
And if you don't get it right, you're probably not going to have another one except at the other end of the barn, and that's assuming you've checked your fire extinguishers today.
Correct. Correct, and a fire goes up fast in a barn with all the hay and the combustibles, without a doubt.
So those are the kind of things we do. We try to educate people. We work together with veterinarians, firefighters, emergency responders of all types, emergency management, and obviously horse owners, cattle owners.
Right.
And try to get them all on the same sheet of music, working with the emergency management in their county, in their jurisdiction. This weekend we're going to have people from Canada and from California, as well as the surrounding states, that are coming together. And what they're going to find out is that working with a horse person that is emotional about their animal. You have animals, you understand.
I'd be a wreck.
You are emotional about your animal. You want to do the right thing. And that's the biggest question I probably get from horse owners. What should I do if I come into my barn and I realize my horse is cast in the stall, or he flips over inside the horse trailer while I'm going down the road? What can I do? And I tell them, don't panic. You can cry later. Don't panic. If you get a hold of yourself, if you have a plan, if you're working with the other people that stop to help, you can cry later. You can puke later. But you got to do what you got to do on the scene right then. And I encourage horse owners to take a real step back and think about, how much is my horse worth to me? What am I willing to do for him medically? What am I willing to do as far as, if in an emergency situation, if I had to make the hardest decision for horse owners, which is to euthanize my horse.
Right.
There is so many horror stories that we have heard where people don't make the right decision. They wait hours to make that decision. The horse is suffering at the time. And one of the things that Justin and Tori have really been emphasizing here in North Carolina is, if you have a problem, call us. The beauty of a cell phone these days, they can take a picture of the scenario, and over the phone, the vet, in coordination with Justin and Tori, has been able to make a triage decision.
Right.
Is this even worth deploying the fire service, deploying their service to come out and help with the horse? In many cases, the horse has already got a broken leg, or he's got his guts hanging out.
Right.
It's not worth it. Let's do the right thing for the horse. It's not about the owner. It's not about you. It's about your horse and making the right decision for him.
Definitely. And so you're going to show us some things today that we can do if we get in this situation?
We are going to show you some things. We're going to show you how to do something called a forward assist. And we're going to use, this is Grasshopper. Grasshopper actually is on his way back north to Massachusetts. He came down to visit Georgia for a little while. So we're going to use him today and show you how to put what's called a forward assist on the horse. So the most fundamental thing that we want people to understand is that the horse is just like a human being. If I was in a hole, please don't pull me out by my neck by putting something around my neck and attaching it to the saddle horn, attaching it to a winch, attaching it to a truck, or even 15 guys. What we want you to do is use the torso of this animal as a brace point, as an anchor point for your webbing, instead of around the horse's neck.
Okay.
He's no different than us. He doesn't want to be pulled out by his neck either.
Right.
So, what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to put a forward assist on a horse.
All right.
And we're going to approach him at the shoulder. Of course, he's a standing horse.
Right.
And he's being a very good boy. And what we're going to do is we're going to approach him on the left. We're going to pad him with a strap. He's actually seen these straps before, but it's strangers approaching him, and he's a little worried. He says, "Whoa, what is that? What are they going to do?" So what we're going to do is I'm going to stand on the other side and talk to you, and we're going to put this over his wither and down and between his legs and come out from the front of his legs. Okay? So take this and just roll it towards the camera.
Okay.
Just roll it. See if you can roll the hose. Good girl! Okay? So you stand on this side, I'm gonna get on the other side. Stand still, Hopper, we're not gonna hurt you.
It's okay, baby, I won't hurt you.
Alright, so just advance that strap over his back. Good boy. And what we're gonna do is go all the way to about the halfway point.
For the hose, halfway?
About halfway. Guesstimate about halfway. And then you're gonna take your piece of the webbing and you're gonna feed it between his front legs. So reach down very carefully. That's right, there's one of them. Now do the same thing with the other one on your side. Feed it through.
Easy, baby, it's okay.
Right. Now back up. Once you've got it between there, back up, and you try to even it out a little bit, and I'll feed it around his body till it's even. Oh, quick. Okay, pull the ends together. Okay,
easy, baby, it's okay.
There you go. Okay, so what you just did was you put what's called a simple forward assist on the horse, and notice at this point he's only had this on him one time before. Step back a little bit and I'm going to see what he does when you put a little bit of pressure. So He already got the idea.
Good
He's like,
job.
Oh, that's all I got to do is just walk forward a little bit.
Come on, baby.
All we did was we allowed him to use his legs. It makes no sense if you were in a hole and I'm trying to pull you out
Right.
to tie your legs together and then say, walk out.
Especially something heavy, you want him to help you.
Exactly. So we're letting him help himself. And the best thing is, let's just say he decides we got him out at this point, and he decides to be stupid. So you just let go. Just drop it. Okay? And so what I'm going to do, get out of the way. I'm going to let him walk out of it and figure it out. And as he comes around me, I might take it and just throw it, and he's free.
Right.
So that's what we like about the simple forward assist. And we work really hard to keep these techniques as simple that anybody can describe this over the phone.
Right.
If you called Justin and Tori and you had a horse down at the bottom of a ravine and you're just trying to walk them up the ravine, they could tell you to do this with a toe strap over the phone.
Right.
It's nice to have Becker slings and Anderson slings and those kind of things, and of course we do teach people how to use those as well. But what's really nice is something simple like that strap. That's a 30-foot strap, it's a toe strap, it's about $100, and if every single horse person has one of those in their barn, that's about 80% of your rescues right there.
Yeah, I was going to say, and on your trailer would be good.
Exactly.
Just have one stowed.
Veterinarians ask me all the time, what could, a vet truck is always full of everything.
Right.
And they ask me, well, what could I put on my vehicle that would be useful for doing these rescues? And I tell them, one of those and a human cane.
Yes, from the article that
They
you wrote.
can flip it around their feet. When I go to put my hand down here, watch what happens to my head. First of all, he can bite me in the butt.
Yeah.
Second of all, if he wants to kick me, he could. My hand is connected to my head. It has to go down next to his foot and puts me in a position where I can't see anything.
Right.
And I'm in a bad position.
Right.
Whereas with a cane or a boat hook, I can fiddle things around his feet. I can put pieces of webbing on him from a safe distance.
Right. That makes
Simple
perfect
things
sense.
like that. And that's what we're going to be teaching these firefighters this weekend. And of course also we are going to have to teach the firefighters a little bit about behavior.
Right.
Because he's not being mean.
No.
He's just doing what horses do.
Sure.
They don't stand there and say, put this on me and I'll stand here like humans would.
Right.
They doodle around and they graze and they swing their butt towards you and they do all these things. So the firefighters have to learn to be respectful of the horse or the cow because they're dangerous, but also be respectful from just the fact that they're just like 12-year-olds.
Right.
They're just not paying attention, doodling around. And while I'm doing a rescue over here, somebody else is cutting part of the trailer over there and making weird sounds.
Yes.
The animal's stressed, he may be injured, and all those things make a huge difference to the horse.
Definitely. That's what I was just thinking. He's scared, so you got to be respectful of him and remember he's your patient, like you said.
Exactly right.
Very
So,
good.
if I have one more thing to tell people, please don't use the neck or the head of that horse to lift him, to pull him. Find some way to put something around his body to make that effort. And what he'll do is as soon as he gets his feet free, he'll probably take off and fart and buck and run, okay? Honestly, that's what they usually do. But, and then the other thing is sometimes you sedate him. The veterinarian's there and you make the decision to sedate him. Well, when you do that, now he can't help you. Now you got 1,000 pounds sitting there in the mud and you either got to wait till he wakes up or you've got to put force on the other end of the strap to be able to lift him out. So there's a lot of those kind of considerations that we'll talk about with the veterinarians because they have to make a snap decision on scene. We're going to sedate him or not? Are we going to anesthetize him or not? How long has he been in that mud hole? If he's been there for 6 or 8 hours, his body temperature's dropped, he's stressed, he's dehydrated, you put a little sedation in him, you may kill him. So they have to make those kind of decisions, and we emphasize a lot them making those kinds of snap decisions.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, that was a very easy thing to learn, and I think that's something that I could easily implement even if I was scared and the barn was on fire. I think I could do that and make him come with me.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to St. Andrews University in Laurinburg, North Carolina. My name is Carla Wenberg and I'm an instructor and coach here. I'd like to invite you to 300 acres of a world-class equestrian facility. We have a dedicated group of instructors that come from the horse industry. They are award-winning in their own right, that teach private and group lessons. We house about 100 to 130 head of horses during the school year, and we have about 170 students that take our equestrian classes. We'd like for you to come visit our facility.
As Mr. Rodeo Virginia 2012, I had the opportunity to travel the country riding on many different horses and in many different saddles. But nothing compared to coming home and riding in uniquely my world-class saddlery saddle. From its unique dog flower tooling to the custom stirrups made just for me, the saddle fits me and my horses perfectly. So whether I'm out running barrels or in a parade, the saddle is both durable and beautiful. It can get the job done and still look good while doing it. I look forward to riding in my world-class saddlery for many years to come.
The North Carolina Horse Council was established in 1972. We are a nonprofit organization that puts every dollar received back into supporting and working for our members. We are a volunteer organization that is supported by people just like you, with passion and energy.
Hi, I'm Sue Gray, Executive Director of the North Carolina Horse Council, and I'd like to share with you today a few reasons of why I would like you to join us. We are your voice. We work on rules and regulations that help you use and enjoy your horses each and every day. There's power in numbers. We have over 306,000 horses in North Carolina, making us 8th in the nation. We also have over 53,000 households owning horses with multiple owners within those households. And we are a $2 billion industry adding to the economics of the state of North Carolina. Power in numbers. We ask you that we can go and help to protect those privileges as we move forward. But we do more than that. We also do grants, and we help to preserve land and protect our trails, and we support youth groups and other equine associations throughout the state.
We welcome you to join us and be part of the largest and most active horse council in America.
And then when we talk about things like disasters, that comes down to you as a horse owner, you as a cattle owner, making the coordination within your jurisdiction, your county, to make sure that they have a plan.
Right.
Now everybody's supposed to have a plan, and in North Carolina actually, a lot of people don't realize this, they led the charge for something called the State Animal Response Team back after Hurricane Floyd came through and basically obliterated eastern North Carolina.
Yes.
They got serious,
Yes.
and they had some money, and they spent a lot of money to make some real big successful steps in the right direction. But unfortunately, some counties took it very seriously, some counties, what's agriculture? The other thing is, it's been a few years. When was that? 1999 or maybe 2000?
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It has.
People change out in emergency management. People change out in disaster management. Your county needs to check. You need to ask the questions. You need to go to your county council meetings and say, hey, what is our plan in this county? You saw what's happening in Colorado this past week.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
What are you going to do in North Carolina if your cattle, if your horses are affected? What is your plan for those animals? Are you going to put them up on high ground? Well, here comes the fire.
Right.
You don't have time to get them all out. Are you going to do what some people do, just cut them loose? You cut them loose, and they're walking down the road, and they're going to get whacked by a car. So trying to come up with your personal plan for how you're going to do things with your horses is probably the most important thing that people can do, is just sit down and think about the realism of what would happen if a flood came right now, or a fire came right now. Not tomorrow, not 3 days from now, right now. When that flame starts, the fire service will tell you you basically have doubling of the fire size every minute.
Wow.
Which means a little tiny flame in 10 minutes is 4,086 times what it started.
Wow.
Which means the truth of it is that by 10 to 12 minutes, your barn is totally engulfed.
Yeah.
Unless you have done some of the things that we always encourage people to do. It's actually in something called the National Fire Protection Association Standard 150. I'm on the technical committee for that, for NFPA across the country. And we emphasize things like sprinkler systems. When was the last time you saw a sprinkler system in a barn?
True.
It doesn't exist. People don't do it. And they tell me all kinds of excuses. Well, it's expensive. Have you gotten a quote lately? Well, I get freezes here. Did you know there's air-assisted systems? There's a response to everything else. If you look around, every public facility's got sprinkler systems.
Yeah.
They're pretty smart about it. So I always emphasize to people, get a quote. There's other things you can do. Retroactive on your barn. You can put on fire retardant to the boards in your existing facilities. I'm not saying it's cheap. It's obviously always less expensive to do it in new construction than it is to go back and retrofit something. But at least that will help. The other thing you can do is build yourself a separate facility for your shavings, your hay. Make sure your manure pile is way away from the barn. Because you can bring 2 or 3 days worth of hay into your barn to distribute. But if you've got your entire winters full of hay above your horses, that's just begging for a fire.
Better to have a no smoking facility for
It
sure.
is better to
without a
have a
doubt.
no smoking facility. And in fact, I don't even let people smoke on my property. If you want to smoke, you get off my property to smoke, because it's just not worth it. People do the dumbest things. They flick it out, or they do that little spinny thing on the ground. They don't know that it's out. And it could get blown by the wind into the barn. I have walked into barns when people were loading hay into the barn. And I'm thinking, really? Are you serious? Are you smoking while you're loading hay into this barn?
Oh my gosh.
Obviously, that's not too smart.
No, it's not.
But the other fundamental thing that people need to understand about barn fires, besides how fast they move, is how slow your fire department can respond. By the time you call 911, assuming you don't have a good fire detector, most people don't have good fire detectors. They have the $4.99 one from Lowe's or Home Depot or Tractor Supply. That will not help you figure out that there's a barn fire unless you are standing in the barn when it happens. So it has to be hardwired into the local fire department or into your security system to be able to alert the fire department. Fire department at the dispatch gets the call. She or he is going to send out the local fire department. Many in a rural area. How many of us have paid fire departments? Very few. Volunteer firefighters are at work, they're at home, they're eating dinner, breakfast, whatever. They get toned out. They have to jump in their truck and go to the location. Somebody has to go to the fire department and get in the truck. The truck shows up 10 to 12 minutes after they get the call.
And that's a pretty fast response in all reality.
And what did we say about 12 minutes?
It's too late.
It's too late. So the honest truth is, you got to have a plan for your barn. You have to have a response plan for your barn. And the simplest way to do it is, you're not going to allow anybody to run down the interior aisle of a barn. Once it's on fire, there's so much smoke without airway protection, which is what the fire department wears. You're not going to be able to stand about 3 or 4 lungfuls, and you're going to be on the ground. The horses are going to be on the ground. The easiest way to do that is to have a outside door on the outside wall of your stalls. If you have an outside wall door, then you can go down the outside wall, open the stall doors, put a halter on the horse, lead him away. Now, what have you seen in the movies? What do they do in the movies with
Cover
the horses?
their eyes and their
That's right. They worry about covering their eyes because they don't lead. And they worry about slap him on the butt and chase him out the barn aisle and he'll leave. You're right. He will leave. He'll go out and then he'll hear his friends in the barn. He'll turn right around and come back into the barn. Or he'll leave and run down the road and get smacked by the fire department trying to respond to fire. So you got a double tragedy, because then you've got an impact on the fire department truck and nothing can survive hitting a horse. So try to prevent those kind of things. What we encourage people to do is come up with what's called a run-out plan, where you can release the horses out of their stalls into a aisle, some kind of aisle, where you only have to open or close 1 or 2 gates, and it chase the horses out to a pasture or a paddock that's way away from the barn.
That makes sense.
And then you can worry about making sure there's no kids in the barn. I mean, think about it. All the places that you go to, there's kids, the farrier's there, the veterinarian's there. There's always people visiting. Do they know anything about your evacuation plan?
And cats and all kinds of stuff are there.
Exactly. And oh, by the way, your $3,000 saddle that you bought, of course, people die going back into barns to try to get those things. They die going back into burning houses to get their kitty cat. So we know it happens. It's a very sad thing. We want to try to prevent those kind of things. So as an owner, the best thing that you can do is get with your local fire department. They are not going to charge you. They are not going to give you some kind of a ticket because you've got problems. Their job is to come to your facility and say, hey, you could fix this, you could fix that, your electrical looks like it needs to be updated, and prevent the problem.
Right.
Because nothing, I'm a volunteer firefighter. As a volunteer firefighter, there is nothing worse than standing there holding the person who's watching their house or their barn burn to the ground, and they're in tears, and I'm feeling bad for them, but I'm also thinking, if you had just done a little prevention, if you just talked to us. Every single fire department in the United States would love to come to your facility. It's called a pre-plan. They'll walk through your facility with you. They'll say, hey, these things you might consider fixing these things. These would be improvements that are cheap and easy to make, like getting the clearing the aisles out.
Right.
Getting the hay bales out of the way, the tack trunks, all the crap that we put in our barns. They look at that and they think, there's no way to get out of here. If I go in that barn, I don't know that I can get out. And of course, they don't want to go into a place like that. So many times, the fire chief will pull those people out and say, I'm sorry, but we're going to watch it burn because we're not going to let you go in there and die.
And October is National Fire Prevention Month, so it's a good time to go ahead and get with your local fire department, evaluate your space, make your plan, and be prepared so that none of this ever happens to you.
This episode of Carolina Hoofbeats TV was made possible in part by funding received from the North Carolina Horse Council, a North Carolina nonprofit corporation dedicated to representing and furthering the common interest of the entire equine industry in all 100 counties of North Carolina. Carolina Hoofbeats is brought to you in part by Newcomb Quarter Horses. Newcomb Quarter Horses with over 40 years experience. Find out how we can help you today. NewcombQuarterHorses.net. And by World Class Saddlery. Custom saddles, repairs, custom tack, and personal leather items. Find out more at worldclasssaddlery.com. And also by Carolina Hoofbeats Magazine, a free publication about the horse industry in North Carolina. Catch up on the latest issue at carolinahoofbeats.com.
Saddle, nothing else matters. My feet in the stirrups, I'm so happy. There's nothing like the sound of Carolina Hoofbeats. Sitting high in the saddle, nothing else matters. My feet in the stirrups, I'm so happy. There's nothing like the sound